Hello, third grade. All right, so today we are starting a new project, and you've probably, hopefully, already looked at the Google Classroom assignment and noticed I have a couple videos or links posted to this assignment. The first one is the Chameleon colors read aloud. I would like you to go ahead and listen to it. Yes, I know you're in third grade, but sometimes just having somebody read you a story is kind of really cool. It kind of talks about a chameleon changing his colors, trying to help other people change their colors, and the mess that ensues. Then the second video is a really cool, it's really quick, it's an actual real life chameleon, and somebody's using different colored items to show you how the chameleons do adapt their skin colors to kind of blend into their surroundings. So I've never seen anything that cool before, so I thought you guys should see it. It was pretty interesting. So our next project, we are going to be making a chameleon, but we're going to be doing a sculpture. So a sculpture is something we talked about before. You could go 360 degrees around it. It's a three-dimensional object. So for this project, you're going to need some plain white paper, or if you don't have plain white paper and paint like we're going to do today, you could use colored construction paper. I think it's more fun if you can make your own paper. That's my advice. So this is going to be a couple parts for one day. Remember, we are now having art class on Tuesdays and Fridays. So I'm going to break up your assignment into two different videos. However, I'm assigning it for the whole week. So you have the whole week until that following Monday to complete the two steps. So if you want to do it all on one day, you can, or you can break it up like we do in school. I'm just going to try and keep it easier so you're not having so many posts in your Google Classroom. So day one video is going to be this one. Hopefully you watch this one first. And we are talking about how when you mix primary colors with secondary colors, you get a new family of colors called tertiary. And those are like your yellow greens, blue violets, blue greens, yellow orange, stuff like that. So when you make a tertiary color, you take the primary color's name and the secondary color's name and you mush it together. Primary is always first, so it'll be red, violet, not violet, red. Even though sometimes Crayola does it that way. And I know we call it purple. Purple and violet are intermixable. So what I would like you to do is I need you to pick one, and you can do this with paint or crayon, or you could even use your oil pastels, but I think that would take forever. Paint would be more fun, but definitely some sort of color mixing you can do. We're using 12 by 18 pieces of paper. We are doing pretty big this time because we're going to turn this into a sculpture that's a good sized chameleon. So if you don't have 12 by 18 paper, get the biggest you can find, or I'm happy to leave some paper in the office for you as well. So this piece of paper, we're going to do some painted paper today, and we haven't done that in forever. If we ever got a chance to do that, I don't think we did in first grade. Anyway, so we're going to take our two colors. So I picked a primary color and a secondary color. And I know my camera kind of washes out the colors. I promise that's green. So it's green and yellow. So take one primary and one secondary, and you know you're going to make a new color, and that's that tertiary. And I'm not going to really tell you. So we know that whatever color I'm going to make is going to be called yellow-green, and it's up to me to make it. So I'm just going to really, on a plate, we're going to use the shiny paper and art. I'm going to give a puddle of the primary you choose and a puddle of the secondary, and you're going to mix it on your paper. I'm going to ask your friends not to swirl it in class. You can kind of tap your paintbrush in on each side and just start painting and actually mix on your paper. If you think it's too green, you can add more yellow or whatever color you choose. The main thing is we just want to see how these two interact together. We know what happens when we mix primary colors together, so now we're doing primary and a secondary. If you mix secondary colors together, you get a really gross dirt color. So yellow-green is what I'm going, and you don't need to sit here and watch me do the whole thing. So over here is a solid green. Well, I don't want that. I want to have a mix to it, and you can add some texture to it. You can swirl your paintbrush around to give it some texture. Once you've painted the entire edge to edge, you can take the back of your paintbrush, and I'm just using a really old paintbrush. You can use the paintbrush in your art kit. You can use a sponge or something, a bigger paintbrush you might have at home as well. I'm happy to leave you one of these bigger paintbrushes with the paper. So pretend I did my whole paper, but you're going to do edge to edge on your paper. My colors got really weird. So it's all yellow-green. If I want to go back on top and start kind of dotting some texture with my paintbrush, so I'm getting some texture in there to make it more interesting, I could do that. I can take the back of my paintbrush and I can scrape in some lines. This paper is going to turn into the body and the skin of our chameleon. So any kind of texture you want to add is great. If you don't like the texture that you do, you just smooth it out. I kind of like the chunky texture and showing the colors that don't blend very well. Everybody likes something different. But the main thing is you want to get some sort of texture on your paper. So once you're happy with everything, I'm going to leave some more yellow spots. We want it mostly covered. If there's a little bit of white spots, that's okay. But we really want the whole thing covered. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to tap in for some texture. I'm going to maybe swirl with my brush to get a different texture. There's lots of things you can do. Like I said, you can find something and scrape it. A lot of people like the tapping. So this also helps get the paint out of the paintbrush. So once you're completely done and you have your whole painting done, I'm going to finish this edge over here. You really let this dry, and you have to let this dry before you go to the next step, because the next step is we have to cut this paper into different shapes. And I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. Because again, we want to add that texture. Okay, so very little white showing. I have some texture. I might even take the back of a Sharpie and just draw some lines in it, just on some parts of it. I don't have to do it all of it. Again, this is just an option to just learn how to make that painted paper. And I'm going to do some cross hatches. And I'm not doing it over the whole thing because I don't want that. I want lots of different textures. Really, just kind of have fun with it. And once your painting's dry, you really can't do much more with it. Maybe I'm going to do over here, and I'm going to scrape out some swirls. So anything is kind of like finger painting without your fingers getting too messy, hopefully. So just a way to add interest and texture to my paper. I'm going to wipe off my Sharpie so I don't forget. And then you're done. Let this dry and then come back for video number 2. So I'm going to keep playing a little bit. As long as you can show me those 2 colors that are mixing, that's what I'm really looking for. Some texture and 2 colors. So you're going to create your tertiary colored paper. Now, if you don't have paint, use this with crayon. Crayon's just going to take longer. But let me know if you need paper at school, and I'm happy to give it to you, or a paintbrush, and I'll get that for you. So this is day number 1, and go ahead and watch day number 2, which your class will do on Friday. But you can do whenever your paper's dry. I'll talk to you later.